Hi, welcome to Reserved Memories. My name is Jay Seals, and today we're going to discuss the story of my cancer, what has happened over the last year. For some backstory, you'll need to know that in 2010 to 2011, I was on deployment with the 2nd, the 502nd Infantry Regiment. I worked for them as a information technology specialist. I was a GI geek. I worked on everything from computer hard drives, building networks, printers, anything having to deal with computers, I dealt with and fixed a lot of stuff. And either in the December of 2010 or January of 2011, I was sent off to a JCOP, which is a Joint Combat Observation Post. And it was populated by U.S. Army forces and Afghan National Army forces, and I was sent there to repair their network, which had been damaged in a firefight. So they thought, just from what we had gotten reports over the radio, that it was going to be a long time to get the problem fixed, that they were going to have to send us some parts. And so I was sent out there to do prep work and get things ready, and it turns out that I was able to fix everything within a matter of days, not weeks. So once I got the network back up and running, the company commander there was left with an extra body to work with, and he had to figure out what he was going to get me to do. At nights, I worked with the RAID camera, which was basically an infrared camera that surveilled the area around our COP and kept the lookout for enemy forces, Taliban, whatever. It was a simple job, sometimes rewarding, and we did find some very interesting things going on in our area, but that's neither here nor there. That's not relevant to the story. During the days, usually 2 to 3 times a week, it was my responsibility to destroy human fecal matter and human waste. We had ad hoc latrines that we had built with holes cut in the bottom of them, and oil drums that had been cut in half where the human waste would go into, and I would have to pull those out, douse the waste with JP8 fuel, which is very hard to ignite and very noxious, and then I'd have to set the stuff on fire and burn all the matter. And sometimes they would throw in extra refuse, just normal trash, MRE packets, bags, plastics, papers, uniforms, whatever they could was flammable, they would throw in there sometimes too, and I would have to burn that also. So that was my job for a month there. And we didn't have gas masks because these were forward observation posts, and they didn't have the resources to be able to maintain and store gas masks and that kind of equipment. So we had cloths to cover our mouths if we were lucky. And sometimes, we weren't so lucky. So fast forward to 2011, I had got back home from my deployment. Everything's wonderful. I had been reassigned to a new unit in Belgium, and I had gotten myself a hernia, doing sit-ups of all things. Yes, it can happen. If you're looking off to the right unexpectedly when somebody's calling your attention and you're in the middle of doing a sit-ups, you can pull a muscle, or 2. In my case, I had a double hernia, 1 on each side of my groin. Yay! So, Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe didn't have the medical facilities to do a decent MRI scan or CT scan, so they paired me up with a civilian doctor in Brussels, and they managed to do the scans for me, and she had scanned my entire abdominal region, and she had noticed a sub-centimeter mass in my stomach, didn't tell me about it, notified my army physician, and he was so focused on the hernias that he just kind of missed or glossed over or neglected to inform me of this 1 to 2 centimeter mass in my stomach. I was never told. And it got buried in my medical paperwork, and no one ever noticed. So got my hernia fixed, great, and finished out my obligation to that unit. And in 2013, I came back home to Fort Campbell. I had re-enlisted so that I could do that, come back to Fort Campbell, and I joined the 5th of the 101, 5th Battalion of the 101, 101st Cab, Combat Aviation Brigade, and finished out my contract with the United States Army there. And in 2016, I ETS'd from the Army, decided to re-enlist, or not re-enlist, but decided to enlist with the Tennessee National Guard. And I had a window of opportunity to take leave, a good block of leave. During that time, I had a problem with my stomach. It was a bowel blockage, and they hospitalized me. They put me in, went to the ER, and they sent me back home. Then I went to the ER again, and they said, "Oh, you've got a bowel blockage, and it's really swollen. Your abdominal cavity is not processing your digestive system properly, and we're going to admit you into the hospital." And so apparently their CT scan was broken, and their MRI wasn't operational because the radiologist was on leave or vacation at the time. So they ran me through an X-ray machine, which tells you diddly squat about soft flesh and soft tissue. Tells you tells you a lot about bones and metal and stuff in your body, but it doesn't tell you much about what's going on with the soft tissue. So they just totally muffed that, and they put a nasopharyngeal tube down my nose, and for 5 days literally sucked the shit out of my stomach through my nose. And once my stomach depleted and I was able to have bowel movements normally, they shook my hand, patted me on the back, told me to send me to home, and thanked me for my service and said, "Enjoy working with the National Guard. Yay, hooah." So 2 months later, I'm with the National Guard, and I am having trouble holding down food. I get this full feeling in my esophagus, and then I end up starting regurgitating food, and I can't eat full meals, and I'm losing weight, and this is very alarming. And so I go to the VA, and I've got 70% disability coverage because of an issue with my hip and my hernia and a couple other issues that had come up during my active duty time. So I'm thinking, the VA will fix me up. They'll find out what's going on. Maybe there's something going on from when I had that bowel blockage. Something got caught up in my nasal cavity, and it's just causing me to gag and stuff. So they'll fix it. So no problem with my nasal cavity or sinus cavities. No problem with my esophagus. So they look a little lower. They send a camera down my stomach. "Oh, you've got cancer. You've got a 20-centimeter tumor in your stomach." For reference, again, 20 centimeters is 7.87 inches. And while I can't speak to the exact girth of the tumor, your average potato is 7 to 8 inches long. So imagine having a potato attached to your stomach lining. That's what I've got. And they could have discovered it back in 2012 when I had my hernia, but no. So when the VA got wind of this and the National Guard got wind of this, paperwork was started. Some fingers were pointed and some blame games started to occur before the Army said, "You know what? We fucked up. We'll go and put him back on active duty. He's still attached to you guys, but we'll take care of him." So they signed me to a Warriors Transition Battalion up at Fort Campbell, and I'm back on active duty as a National Guard service member, being cared for by the Warrior Transition Battalion regular Army. It's very complicated. But, so that's where I am. I have received 23 chemo treatments so far in the last year, and a couple of months ago it was very apparent that those treatments were no longer effective. I was losing weight again. In this last year I have lost 50 pounds. I started at roughly 200 pounds or 198 pounds, and I'm down to 149. So I've lost 50 pounds in the last year, and that most of that was lost in the first few months. But in the last 2 months, last 2 months, I've lost another 10 pounds. And I've been kind of holding the line at 150, 149, 152, 153. But it's been a real battle to maintain my weight. For the first half of my chemo treatments, I experienced neuropathy. When neuropathy is basically where your nervous system is interfered with. You begin tingling sensation in your fingers, extreme sensitivity to hot and cold, taste buds go completely wonky, foods taste bland or way too spicy or not right, and you can... One day, Doritos will taste like cardboard, and the next day, chicken could be sour, and then a day after that, everything's fine, and you suddenly don't like broccoli. I mean, it's a grab bag of what the fuck going on with neuropathy. But about halfway through, they stopped giving me the part of the chemo regimen that was causing the neuropathy. They stopped giving me that. They stopped giving me that, and I was able to recover from that. Now I'm on a new treatment plan, which has other side effects. I'm starting to slowly but surely get the neuropathy back, the tingling sensation in the fingertips and toes especially, and started losing my hair. Had a full head of hair. I was really proud of the fact that for the first year of my fight with cancer, I was holding on to my hair. Nope. I've lost about maybe 50% of what's on my noggin. Pubic hair, armpit hair, beard and mustache. All of that stuff is falling out. There's nothing I can do about it. And I'm not too terribly vain. I've shaved my head before, of course, in the Army. So I'm not worried about it. It's just the rapidity at which it is happening is a bit alarming. You know, going to take a shower and you find a clump the size of your fist in the drain is a bit disconcerting. But anyway, the cancer is stage 4. It's terminal. It has metastasized. There are little nodelets of cancer all throughout my abdominal cavity. And it is extraordinarily likely that this shit will one day end up killing me. I don't like saying it. I'm not looking forward to it, but I have gotten my head straight about it. I have not exactly resigned myself, just accepted the fact that eventually I'm going to die. And I've done everything I can to try to prepare for it. It hasn't been a horrible experience. It's been somewhat troublesome and problematic. It's been an adventure. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about spiritual growth, about detachment, about honesty, about freedom, and in a sense, yeah, knowing that this is going to punch my ticket has been very liberating, has been very freeing. And I can't exactly describe why or how, but it's just, lots of people spend their lives worrying about what's going to end up killing them. They get fearful for stepping outside, going for a drive, taking vacations, flying on airplanes, swimming. People have irrational fears about all kinds of things because they're afraid something's going to kill them. And I know with absolute certainty what is going to kill me. There is no question. I mean, I could end up getting killed in a car crash, or the left wing of a DC-10 could fall on my head at any given moment between now and a couple of years from now. Who knows? But there is absolute certainty that if nothing else happens to me, cancer is going to kill me. Unless there is some sort of magical cure. I am just creeping up on the edge of 45. In May, I'll be 45. And a 20 centimeter tumor is not insignificant. That isn't just brushed away with some chemo. And yes, we talked about doing surgery. As soon as they found out that it had spread to other organs, I was taken off the table for surgery. They were going to cut up my entire stomach. And that was an interesting story. First, I thought they were just going to cut out a portion of it, but No, they disabused me of that notion pretty quickly. No, Mr. Seals, we're going to cut out the entire thing. And that was a bit of a wake-up call. But when they found out that it had spread, that there was no point in doing surgery, that would just make matters worse for me. So I'm having to live with what I call my little monster. I eat whenever I can. I eat however much I can. And I try to enjoy life as much as possible. And in later installments, I'll get into my philosophy about fighting cancer and what it means to me, where my head is at on any given day. But that is the story of my cancer, my stomach cancer. They can't conclusively determine that it was working with burn pits and burning human refuse and other general trash. They can't confirm that, or they won't. The Army and the VA has been very mum about the effects of burn pits, but awareness is growing daily. More and more people are becoming made aware of the dangers and the toxins that can be found at burn pits, and how much exposure, how much the exposure to those things could end up killing you. People with emphysema, CPD or COPD, cancer, and other respiratory issues and neurological issues and ALS, people developing all kinds of strange things, a lot of them people who dealt and worked with burn pits directly while they were on deployment in Afghanistan and Iraq. And there's some strong cases being made for it, but nothing's been conclusive yet, unfortunately. No one wants to stand up and say, yeah, this is what's killing our soldiers. But that's a different fight. That's a fight my wife is engaged in. And if and when I pass, she will definitely go whole hog with that fight. But that's pretty much where I'm at with the cancer. It's affecting me, and it's going to kill me, and I'm okay with that. And it's not going to happen quickly. I will fight tooth and nail every step of the way. I still love life, and there are still lots of things that I want to do, that I have done, that I've wanted to do, and there's still more that I intend to do. So there you go. That's my story. This is Reserved Memories. I'm Jay Seals, and we'll see you next time.